Hey dude, what's this outfit? Happy Halloween everyone! I'm a construction worker today. Talking about construction, plumbing leaks are one of the most expensive, merciless, relentless problems to have. In this video, we're going to talk about some of the plumbing issues that you need to be aware of. We have David Eslin of Inspect Canada to talk to us about plumbing. Let's see what he has to say.
Okay, so now let's talk about plumbing. So 1920 to 1960, and that's galvanized pipes. So galvanized pipes, the problem is they rust from the inside and it contaminates the water, and there's all kinds of problem with that. And the insurance, they basically don't want to deal with it. So if at one point someone says, yeah, we still have galvanized pipes here, then you're like, well, tell your clients it's time to upgrade. And again, it would be on smaller homes, so the plumbing in there, there'd be two bathrooms and a kitchen in there, so it's not a lot of plumbing to deal with. Copper plumbing. So copper was very popular between 1930 and 1986. Now the copper in 1930 was really good quality copper. Copper in 1986 was complete garbage. So what's going on is, like, we'll still see houses from 1930 with original copper in it. And the houses from 1980 with copper, it's leaking. It has to go now. It got thinner and thinner and thinner with time, and it just doesn't last as long. Every 10 years that it got older, it lasted 10 years less. So in 1940, it lasted 10 years less than this one. 1950, 10 years less than 1940. So at this point, in reality, if it's not PEX, this guy here, that you have in that house, whatever you have in there has already passed its life expectancy. Okay, so we'll end up talking about this, but copper was a great material. The problem with copper, and copper looks just like that, and if you go to one home that you're looking for your clients, all you need to do is you go under the sink. Here, you can grab that one if you want. You go under the sink and look what's connected, what's bringing the water here. Or you go in the utility room, again, ceilings are wide open. Take a look at what kind of plumbing we have coming out of the water heater and that kind of stuff, right? So if it's this stuff, it's not bad. But the thing is, it hasn't really been used since the early 80s. So it's already 40 plus years old. It's already past its life expectancy. And normally, we'll be talking about polybutylene in a minute here, but we see copper leaking way more than anything else out there. Not because it's a bad product, because it's already 40 to 50 to 60 years old. It's getting really old. So if your client they're planning on buying a house with copper, it wouldn't hurt to let them know, look, I mean, it's expensive to buy a house right now. You don't have to replace all your plumbing now, but consider replacing it sooner than later. Whenever you do a renovation, a bathroom, a kitchen, whatever it is, replace it then. Because there's always a little bit of drywall damage. You got to open the walls and stuff. That's what's costing the money, right? But copper was great, but you can't freeze it. Slight freezing, pops right away. It was great for water quality. It's just a great product, but it's already passed. Now this one here is the one that you guys may have heard about, the great type of plumbing right there, called polybutylene, or the short name is Poly B. So Poly B is an insurance issue. When you look at the pipe, it normally says PB2110 on it. And also, there is no really any other pipes out there. There's no other manufacturers of other pipes that use gray. So gray is polybutylene. Now there's a couple different type of Poly B. There's one with the plastic fitting here. In the middle, it's a plastic. Now that one is the one the insurance don't like very much. The one that the sample I have now, that's the one with the plastic. And that's what they consider Poly B first generation. So if the insurance says, is it first generation or second generation? The first generation is a plastic, the second, it's a copper. Okay. So now we see the one with the copper a lot more than the one with the plastic. But just so you know, the insurance companies, this was popular between 1984, it says 70s here, but that was in the US, 1984 to 1996 roughly, okay? So between that time range, millions of houses were built. There's plenty of Poly B out there. But, like I told you earlier, we see copper leaking way more than that. I'm not saying it's a great product, there's a lot of problem with it and stuff, but we almost never see it leaking. But it's an insurance issue. The insurance weren't crazy with this, and they use it as a money grab in most cases. Most of them will still insure you, but it'll be a lot more expensive. Okay, I had a client that is paying an extra $1,000 per year to insure his Poly B, and if he has one claim, he's no longer insurable. So if you have Poly B, not the end of the world, but they have to consider starting to replace it as soon as possible, because it will. And also, let's keep in mind that if it's from 1996, it's already almost 30 years old, and it's also not a great product, and we don't know the history because they took it off the market almost right away. So does it last 50? Does it last 20? It's like you don't know. But as of now, you can imagine every year this plumbing is getting older and older and older. This will become a bigger problem every year. The insurance company will get more picky about it, more picky, and eventually they'll say, you know what, you got copper, that's no good. They haven't installed copper since 1980s. So they'll start picking on that. So what you're looking for is this material right here, and we'll talk about that right there. Oh no, there's another one here. This one, though, we never really see it, but it's an, eh? Yeah. So the solution on this is complete removal, or you pay more for insurance. That's all it is, yeah. And no matter what, even if you pay more for insurance now, it's already old plumbing. You're buying a house with Poly B, it has to be part of your budget to replace this plumbing. You're not buying, it's not like you're buying a house with brand new plumbing. So you have to understand, the client has to understand that it will cost, depending on the house, $15,000 to $25,000 to replace this plumbing. Now, if it's just an old home with 2 bathrooms and a kitchen, it won't cost you that much. But keep in mind, there's always drywall damage. You got to repair the drywall. You got to tape it. You got to paint the wall twice and all that. So that's where the extra cost comes into play. So if your client's buying a place and it's not PEX that you have in there, which could be any house built prior to 2000, if it hasn't been upgraded, it's still the original plumbing. They have to understand that part of their budget for this house is to replace the plumbing, in the next 5 years or so, depending on the situation. Okay. Now, orange plumbing. Nowadays, it kind of sucks because PEX also came out with an orange pipe. So a lot of people are like, oh, is that it? Or is that the one, right? But the thing is, you have to look on the pipe. If you're confused about a pipe, there's normally markings on them that will tell you whether it's PEX or this one was called Keytec. Keytec didn't make it very long, about 10 years or so, 1995 to 2007, and I have not personally seen it, and I've done thousands of inspections. But it's out there. From what I'm told, it's out there. Plumbers are saying it's out there. But basically, it was normally used for in-floor heating, and the big problem with it is that it was no good with heat. So it's like, so 10 years later, action lawsuits, like it was just went crazy and stuff. So if you go in the utility room and you see orange pipe, and it's built between that era, I would read on the pipe what it says. And there's other names for it. Plumb Better, Ipex Aqua, Warm Right, and stuff like that. But in most cases, it will just say PEX on it, P-E-X, and it'll be the same thing as this, but an orange version. Okay? And then complete removal is normally the way to go on this because it's an insurance issue. They might not even insure you. And tell your truth, don't get too crazy about this. I've never really seen it. But here's the stuff. So any house built after 2000, this I would say late 90s. So what happened is we had polybutylene until 1996 roughly. So at that point, they took it right off the market. They were not able to sell them in stores. There were action lawsuits. You could not even buy the material. So it's almost impossible to find it. We find it sometime in 1997 on houses that were probably started in 96. But, and then the plumbers were like, shit, what are we going with now? They were used to using copper before that, so some of them went back to copper for a couple of years. So it is possible that there's copper out there from 1998 to about 2000, 2001. Very rare though, but it is possible. But yet that copper, it's copper from 2000. So it's like the worst copper in history. So 20 years later, this stuff is ready to go anyways. So, but if it's built after 2000, guaranteed fact it's PEX they have in there unless the owner had a big problem with plastic, because it does happen. Some people, they just want to drink through copper for some reason. But normally it's PEX. Now, if you go in a house from 1952, it might be PEX too, because they might have upgraded after 2000, right? Because whatever they had before was already 50 years old, so they replaced it. So going to that house, you go straight to the utility room, you look up what kind of plumbing we got in here, or you go under the sink, kitchen, bathroom, you'll see what's connecting to your water hoses there. If you see a pipe that looks white, blue, or red, sometimes they color coded, the red for the hot, the blue for the cold, and sometimes it's all white. Then congratulations to your clients, they have the best plumbing in the market. It's designed to last a good 50 to 70 years. It's an amazing product. It can freeze. It can expand 4 times its size before it splits. It can take massive amount of pressure. It's just a great product. On the downside, you cannot have it running it outside. It cannot be in the UV ray because it will, but you can put a sleeve on it or protect a foam or something like that. But this is the best stuff on the market. So if this is what you see for your clients there, then this is all good news. It's the best plumbing on the market. Okay. Yes, absolutely. So I do have some red and some blue right here. Basically, it's just a plastic, really, and it's just a great product. And then this came out in early 2000, and they're still installing the exact same stuff. Doesn't look like they changed the recipe in the last 20 years. It's just a... No, actually it's cheaper. Because what happened with copper, when you want to go and make a corner, you got to weld it here. It takes a very long time. And the problem with copper, every time you're going around here, you got to make new corners. And where it leaks, it's normally at some kind of corners or some kind of fitting. This one here, being flexible, they really can pull it all the way from the utility room all the way up to the 3rd floor without having any corners on it. It bends around the corners and stuff like that, right? So that's why it's a lot. Yeah. And what happened is they do sell some kind of little plastic that helps you make the corners, that holds it and stuff like that. So it's a lot faster for people to use it. For plumbers, it takes a lot less time to install, and it has less chance of leaking because there's less joints and stuff like that. Yes, sir.
What does the color mean? One white, blue, and red?
So sometimes they color code it, so they'll use the red for the hot, the blue for the cold, and sometimes they don't care, they use white. And so, but it depends on the place. Sometimes you'll go under the sink and you see a blue one and a red one. Yeah. That's the best. Yeah, they'll give you a discount. It's they'll be super happy. But the thing is, the insurance company, like you might have noticed already, a lot of them people, they're not very educated about it. A lot of this kind of stuff, eh? Like the other day, someone says, "Oh, I got copper." The lady's like, "They haven't installed copper since 1915. Oh my God." And she wanted to charge them all kinds of money for this. And then I had to talk to her and explain, right? It's like, and also, if it's a house from 2015, they will still ask you, "Is it poly B you have?" Look, I mean, what the hell, right? Like, there's obviously no continuing education in that whole field, right? These guys, they took a course 20 years ago, and that was as far as they went education-wise.